Hi, this is Dr. Justina Agnieszka Chevalier. There are many cases of power equilibration in which the reverse is actually the problem. When spouse impersonates by downgrading the person that is in professional function, such function feeling that is threatening to him or to her when that is a couple, and does so in such a way to present self as a professional or as a mother most of the time, presenting the other as a child, as a person that is incompetent per skills, or as a person that is incompetent in health. That is often based on appearances and assumption that the other person, the one that presents self in professional manner or function, desires or pursues such role. The remediation always is to reduce negative emotions. Fear is component of that. Fear of being abandoned or fear of being killed in all, and constitutes most common surge of instinct to fight or to kill or to escape the situation. Remediation is always in form of non-perpetuation of fear, and also in person that creates that fear, always toward the potential perpetrator, that has, in your visible opinion, cause to actually induce fear in the other. I will give you an example. Nurse Jenkins and her husband, Mr. Jenkins, appear in a formal meeting. I am a physician. My name is Dr. Justina Chevalier, and I need to collaborate with spouse who is a constructor worker. In such role, the nurse starts in a hostile way a conversation that aids in a non-pursuit of such a collaboration, in implication, in implying that it is of a personal nature, pursuit of common household, which is not the case, preventing an income from that family. And in let's assume that in that situation I pursue building of a recovery room that I want to attach to my household for a personal practice or professional practice. And that is then compensated with an assumption that professional role is basis to pursuit of sexual activity, which sex impedes work and is not work in all of cases. And that is not well consummated in many instances. Sublimation in title, evoking of strangership, is meant to underline the importance of that couple and matching couple in such so that they are as one, perceived as such, is to create that unit from that couple and place itself in the role of non-child but an equal, placing another person in role of child of own, or in a role of the assumed significant other based on professional manner, impedes income and progress. And so it is important to note that even though that seems benign, it creates a potent fear. And that fear is derived from an instinctive fight as if in danger. A person who presented themselves in a way to promote that relationship in professional way, in such role as such role is de facto, and self feels threatened because, for instance, I am a doctor, and in hierarchy, nurse often takes from the standpoint of medicine orders from a doctor. And this is wanted most of the time. Nurse spends most of the time in provision of direct care and is for such reward. And so in that situation, what would be an example of that? I approach and say, hello, Mr. Jenkins, I would like to have a specific dimension house built that has insulative material around, because I am concerned that when my colleagues, for instance, that I collaborate with, finish their work, persons are exposed to extreme, non-consciated, often electromagnetic field derived from phones and from other interferences, and I wish to do so in an area that is deprived of those. And house that I would like to have you build, I want it to be built in material that having windows is built in such way that prevents penetration of such radiation, so that person can recover and recover so comfortably, having space also, and in breathable building. So I explained that, and then that nurse says, honey, I do not think that you ain't any good, and that all of that, it makes you paranoid, hon. It also makes you feel superior here, there. I here do not think that at all. Also, Benny can actually build anything for you. I'll tell you, maybe if you extend some additional pay here and there, maybe then. And see, that is an example of corruption. And that corruption is in form of an insinuation that is called pimping out, that I have to pursue sexual relationship or such impressions in order to obtain fair treatment in that contract to build something, instead of that nurse Jenkins. And so that is wrong, because no one benefits from it, and causes in that couple, in that person, that man, feeling of being left out and betrayed by that woman, and in that woman feeling of being superior maybe for some time, but then feeling at loss because there is no gratification from doing so if that person, that Mr. Jenkins, is loved and wanted. And so that is why the proper remediation now, and that needs to be practiced a lot, is always to decrease in self, in others at the same time, all of negative emotions, fear, anger, and pain, or suffering. So instead of because I can become then upset and say, how dare you? You should not be, first of all, addressing me as Han, and secondly, how dare you ask for some additional costs? It is for greater good of others who actually need such, and why do you impede that? And see, that is accusatory, and it generates in that person, if she has sense of being protected, being from a given area and with a man, sense of superiority leading to gloating, and social sense of first fear and then aggression to form a counterattack, and even civil wars. And so such is not the right way to address. You see, it is of utmost importance that you, each of you, learn that and practice. Despite the rage or fear, also escaping is not always the best. If we withdraw ourselves from the situation, we need to come back. The way to address it is always to whoever it is that is potentially, from what just happened, so that verbal statement of hers, at loss. And that at loss is that man. And so why he's at loss? Because I know that I don't love him, nor I want to enter in any sort of sexual or quasi-sexual relationship. Work and sex are per se as activity. I cannot type and have sex. It's not compatible. That is why we don't call dick swinger, for instance, someone who is a good worker, because that is referred to a person's capacity to have children only. If person is having children and is able to present self as fully potent male, that person is not working for others, but working for that immediate family, and having such, the more children, the less that person actually works for others. The same is for all of those that derive from that, swinging bitch, etc. This a kind of sense of superiority of females. The exact same thing, or big mama. If one has no children, one is not big mama, because that actually means that others will wish to impersonate children, and it is not necessarily wanted for the others to function as independent individuals, or for self if self wishes to be a mother at any point, be it for children or for adults. So, what is the proper remediation or correction in that situation? It is to seek for an immediate, as a result, potential harm done to the other person, and match that person up by appropriate verbal statement, so that that dissipates and in response reduces on anger or fear or being hurt. So that is, for example, to address Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins, I am here as a physician and information, and also as the person who needs household and that recovery room, not only for self but also for others. I do not propose here a large sum of money, because I find that it is inappropriate in asking in comparison to other goals, considering timely importance and also importance for others and for me, to build such. This is not a personal issue, and also I would want you to actually sign a contract in which you could specify fees based on fees in that area, considering originality and importance in novelty of that construction. That is called rationalization, and we in this action dismiss what that person is trying to do, which means we dismiss an intent to make that relationship personal, leading towards a sexual in a nature unwanted relationship, and we elevate the role of that person and sustain it to that professional and provider. And second maneuver always is to then underline in a non-angry way the role of the wife, that nurse here, as a role for that man, and so appeal to the bond that they have being a marriage. For instance, Mr. Jenkins, your wife here, I believe, actually would probably benefit from that herself, in case one of you, for example, would like to have new children, or have your own grandchildren ever visit, because that would be also a place of recovery, and for a fee that I could then calculate based on, well, your fairness and honesty as a couple. You could use it at ease and in proximity. Wouldn't you do that, therefore, also to benefit the area as well as your wife and all of your offspring, for more of a convenient fee and in a timely manner based on a fair contract? Could you determine such? And this is to underline that woman's two things: fertility, importance to that man, and an actual already existing bond, despite her trying to undermine herself as such for sake of money, that is in loss of potential for children, because there is resentment between the two, not possible, non-tangible to recover. So that loss in that money, actually in lost fertility, marital fights, and having a potential for unwanted and long-lasting then relationships in which there is suspicion or rumors that something like that, even though it is unwanted, could happen, results in non-repairable loss of confidence